and the omnibus. So I was forced into the Archers when I was a child. And look, it's come back to bite me later on. I'm awash with this stuff.
The Archers is the world's longest-running radio show, with more than 15,000 episodes broadcast. Despite being a rural flavor show, The Archers is recorded in the heart of...
Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Yeah.
Today we're getting into some really fascinating interactions.
Yes, looking at relationships, identity, courage too.
Exactly. We've got some excerpts from The Archers, and we're going to unpack the emotional stuff going on. Persuasion, bravery.
And how people see each other, maybe how they want to be seen.
Right. Our mission here, really, is to explore that question. How much of what we think about others, or even ourselves, is, well, real? And how much is a story we're telling?
Or maybe a story we need to believe. Should be interesting.
Definitely. Expect some surprising moments, I think. So let's jump right in. First scene. George, he's talking to his friend Brad, and George is just completely smitten.
Smitten might be an understatement.
Yeah. He says Amber is his official girlfriend now. She's posting about them online, using the L word.
And that phrase, love behind words, that's something.
It is. George is just raving about her. Says she's not like other girls. She says what she means, just like him, apparently.
Uh-huh. And the car comparison.
Oh, right. He calls her a Bugatti Veyron and says his ex was just a Golf GTI. Pretty dismissive.
Very telling language. It positions Amber as this ultimate prize, almost unreal.
Brad seems a bit skeptical, asks about how fast it all happened, but George insists, oh, I've known her for years. From school.
But Brad doesn't remember her.
Not at all. Complete blank. George then explains, well, actually, she started following him online first, then messaging him.
Okay, so the school connection might be thinner than he first implied.
Seems like it. She followed his legal case, apparently, before he got sent down. And George, he's just completely sold, says she's the one.
Right. And that line, she sees me, who I want to be, who I can be.
Yeah. That's powerful stuff. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It really does. What strikes me is how George isn't just, idealizing her. He's building this whole narrative around her.
A narrative of validation, you mean?
Exactly. The online start is crucial here. It allows for a kind of curated reality, maybe. Both ways.
Right. They only see the presented version of each other, not the messy everyday stuff.
Precisely. So this perfect, idealized bond can grow without those normal reality checks. It's surprising how easily we can almost co-create these perfect versions online.
To fit what we want, or maybe who we want to be.
Fulfilling our own needs, perhaps unconsciously.
That's a really interesting take. This curated, maybe collaborative projection. But what about when identity isn't about aspiration, but about fear?
Ah, yes, a different kind of pressure.
This brings us to Kenton. He's getting support from Usha, and he's clearly really stressed.
Understandably.
He admits he bottled it before. An identification process. He was too scared.
Scared of Mark and gang. He thinks they're dangerous.
Yeah, fingers in all sorts of illegal pies, he says. He even got legal advice. Someone called Harrison warned him.
What did Harrison say?
That if he didn't go through with the ID this time, the defense lawyer would use his previous fear to discredit him. To say he's unreliable.
Ah, the classic defense tactic. Undermine the witness.
Exactly. But Usha steps in. She's just this calm, supportive presence. A friend, a neighbor.
Not judging him.
Not at all. Acknowledges the trauma, says no one blames him. Yeah. She even jokes about charging him £1 for every sorry.
Ha! Refusing payment, just being there, that's real support.
It really is. Helping him face something genuinely terrifying.
And what's really profound here, I think, is Kenton's shift. He realizes it wasn't just the fear holding him back, it was the shame about being afraid.
Ah, that makes sense. The shame was the real prison.
Yes. Usha doesn't just offer comfort, she helps him, reframe the whole thing. She creates that safe space.
So his past fear, the bottling it, doesn't have to be a weakness.
Exactly. By acknowledging it and still choosing to act, it becomes proof of his courage. Proof of the threat, even. What the defense wanted to use against him becomes his strength.
Wow, that's quite a turnaround.
Usha makes it crystal clear. The only way to stop Mark and his gang is to give evidence.
And Kenton gets it. He says the shame kept him on a nightmare hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Stuck.
That's such a vivid image. The paralysis of shame.
But then he decides. Do the right thing no matter what. He sees giving evidence as the only way out.
His journey shows that real bravery isn't, not being scared. It's moving forward despite the fear, maybe even because of it. Integrating the past.
That reframing is powerful.
Yeah.
Usher really helped him rewrite his own story there. So, circling back to George now, what does this mean for him and his constructed narrative?
Good question. How does his story evolve?
Well, he asks Brad for a favor. A slightly odd one.
Oh.
He needs Brad to go to his house, into his room, and get a specific t-shirt.
A t-shirt? Any particular one?
Yep. Denim blue with maroon lettering. It says dope. Apparently, Amber wants it.
Why that specific shirt?
She claims it's what George wore when she first saw him and thought that she wanted a piece. Her words.
Right, so it's symbolic for her. Or at least that's the story she's giving.
Brad's a bit hesitant, rummaging through George's stuff. But George appeals to their friendship. You're a mate. A good one.
And friendship wins out.
It does. Which leads Brad to finally meet Amber.
The mysterious Amber in person. How does that go?
Well, she's very direct. Introduces herself straight away, declares, "We love each other, we're an item, official."
Doesn't waste any time setting the terms.
Not at all. Brad tentatively says George likes her, and she corrects him immediately. Love.
Asserting control over the narrative from the get-go.
Totally.
Yeah.
Brad tries to remember her from school, says she looks really different, asks if she wore glasses like thick ones.
And Amber's reaction.
Dismissive. We all change as we grow up. But then she adds something. Interesting.
What's that?
She says, "My eyes are whatever color I want them to be, depending on my mood."
Okay. Like context. Or more symbolic.
Feels more symbolic, the way she follows it up. No one has to be a slave to what they were born with nowadays.
Yeah.
Bradley, catch up. We can be the best we want to be. You just have to know how.
Wow, that's quite a statement. It's almost a manifesto for self-creation.
Right. And then she sizes Brad up, calls him shy, awkward, says she usually makes your type nervous.
Ooh, a subtle power play there, too. Putting him on the back foot.
Definitely felt like it.
This whole interaction is, it's a masterclass in impression management. Amber isn't just adapting, she's performing an identity.
Performing is a good word for it.
Those comments about eyes not being a slave to what you're born with, it's deeper than just appearance. It hints at this deliberate construction of self, maybe even challenging the whole idea of a fixed identity.
So what does it tell us about her? Why this insistence on transformation?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It suggests she wants, or maybe needs, to be seen in a very specific way, a way she dictates. She's not just being, she's actively projecting and demanding acceptance of that projection.
She's telling Brad, and George through him, "This is who I am now, deal with it."
Precisely. Catch up, as she says.
Okay, so the story wraps up, or this part of it, with Brad actually getting the t-shirt from George's room. Amber's there with him.
Ah, the t-shirt retrieval mission.
And Amber, well, she picks up the unwashed shirt and sniffs it.
Sniffs it.
Declares, it's his scent. Each of us has a unique animal scent.
Right. Certainly a choice. How does Brad react?
Pretty grossed out, understandably. He quips that George definitely smells like a unique animal after haymaking.
Huh. A bit of dry wit there.
Then Amber pivots. Starts asking Brad about his past love life. About Mia, George's stepsister, who Brad dated. Asks if he's ever been in love.
Probing again, keeping him off balance.
Seems like it. She states confidently, "When you're in love, you know." Then hits him with his parting shot.
Let me guess, another power move.
Kind of. She suggests that knowing George, being his friend, gives Brad an element of cool that you can't get by yourself.
Ouch. That's subtly undermining, implying Brad needs George for social currency.
Exactly. And just before they leave, Brad notices Amber wants just one more second in his bed. George's bed.
Possessive. Territorial. It adds another layer to her character.
It really does.
So this final scene kind of pulls it all together, doesn't it? Amber's constant psychological nudges, the probing, it highlights the subtle power dynamic she's trying to establish.
Yeah, it's not just about the t-shirt, it's about marking territory, maybe.
Could be, and it contrasts interestingly with George's view of her. He sees her as this idea, this reflection of who he wants to be.
While she seems very focused on managing how everyone sees her, including Brad.
Exactly. It's this complex dance of perception, aspiration, control, and, very deliberate self-creation on her part.
So there you have it, our deep dive today. We've looked at the The complexities of new love, how it's built on reality, but also maybe wishful thinking, like with George.
That online curation bias playing a big role there.
Definitely. And then the flip side, finding courage when you're terrified.
Yeah.
Kenton deciding to break that nightmare hamster wheel.
Reframing his vulnerability into strength with Usha's help.
And then Amber, showing us just how fluid identity can be, how much it can be a performance, a conscious choice.
That masterful impression management.
Yeah. It's really shown a light on how intricately people influence each other, sometimes without even meaning to.
Absolutely. And that fascinating push and pull between how things seem and how they actually are. Perception versus reality.
A reminder that the stories we tell ourselves and the stories others tell about us are always shifting, always being co-written in a way.
Constantly evolving.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener. Consider this. How much of what you project onto other people, or what they project onto you, how much of that is who you really are?
And how much is just a story you've chosen to believe, or maybe one you've built together?
And think about your own game plan in life. How is it shaped by how others see you? Or maybe how you choose to see yourself?
So what are you doing now?
Just getting ready for the next episode. Just moving mics around.
So what do you do?
I do the spot effects on the archers. Just any
Are you what we
movements
call Foley then?
and- kind of. Yep.
Okay. And these are all part of the paraphernalia of production.
Yep. That's the bull bar. That's.
This one.
Yep. That's.
Haley so wanted to be in their own place when their baby came. It's due in 2 months. Not much chance of that now. No. I mean, it would have been a stretch for them financially, mind, but I just wish there was something practical I could do to help them, Caroline.
I think The Archers has had this immense popularity over the years, basically because it has always very accurately reflected the reality of life and living in a rural community at whatever